Good morning, student. Today we are going to discuss on the environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment is nothing but it is analysis of the environmental effect. It is known as the environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment is nothing but when human beings, due to the increased population, due to the increased industrialization, and due to the revolution, industrial revolution, we can say that. So whatever happens, that is the adverse effect are found on the environment, and then government of the Maharashtra, government of the state or central government start to analysis the project before starting. That is when anybody start to project. So before starting the project, it must be analysis, which may be the adverse effect, which may be the benefited effect on the environment, and such analysis is nothing but the environmental impact assessment. So today we are going to discuss on the Botany paper 2nd semester 4th BO 342 plant ecology and biodiversity. So the environmental impact assessment is the interdisciplinary in the sense it is related to the ecology, it is related to the environment, it is related to the geography or phytogeography, you can say that. It is related to the cultural aspect, it is related to the social aspect. So it is interdisciplinary process, and it is multi-step. That is, whether it start to conduct, it passes through the various steps. And what are the role of this environmental impact assessment? That is the environmental consideration, that is ensure that the environmental considerations are included in the decision regarding the project that may impact the environment. Suppose any type of the project impacts on the environment, so decision regarding these projects are taken under consideration. Simply defined, the environmental impact assessment is a process which helps to identify the possible environmental effect. Effect is nothing but the impact of the proposed activity. Proposed activity is nothing but the proposed project, and how those impacts can mitigated or minimize, or it may be reduced. That is simply defined, the environmental impact assessment is the process which helps to identify the possible environmental effect of a proposed activity and how those impacts can be mitigated, can be reduced. The purpose of the environmental impact process is to inform the decision makers. Decision makers are nothing but the project developer or the owner of the project, and the public of the environmental consequences. Environmental consequences means what? The nearby area which may affect adversely, which may affect negatively. So nearby peoples are involved for the implementation of the projects. The environmental impact assessment itself is nothing but the making the documentation, and it is technical tool that which helps for identification of the effect. It predicts means what? In future which effects may happen, which may be positive or negative, but regarding this project, it predicts the ideas, it analyzes the impacts on the physical environment, as well as on the social environment, as well as the cultural environment, or the health of the living things, living organisms. The environmental impact assessment process is successful. It identifies alternative and mitigation measures to reduce the environmental impact of a proposed project. Suppose proposed project is there, so environmental impact analysis, environmental impact assessment is the process which is successful, and this process is helpful to identify the alternative source when any type of the project produces the more pollutants. So what are the alternative for to reduce, to minimize the mitigation, means the minimize the adverse effect. So for that, this project, this environmental impact assessment helps for the minimizing the adverse effect, to identify the alternative source, and then only this project may starts. Environmental impact assessment process also serves as an important procedural role in the overall decision making process by promoting transparency and public involvement. That is, this project have the transparency, as well as nearby peoples are involved in this. So it is the it have the transparency and the public involvement is done in this project. The environmental impact assessment is an important management tool for ensuring optimal use of natural resources for the further sustainable development. That is, environmental impact assessment also helpful for the ensuring or to observe the minimum use of natural resources. These many natural resources are nothing but the water resources are there, forest resources are there, mining resources are there. So use of these natural resources must be minimized, or optimal utilization of the natural resources. Optimal use of the natural resources means and at the certain level these resources are used and for the continuous development of the nation. A beginning in this decision was made in our country, in India. This environmental impact assessment was started regarding the River Valley project in 1978 to 79. This was the first beginning of the environmental impact assessment project. Environmental impact assessment, that is analysis of the adverse effect. So laterally it goes towards the, it is implemented, it develops for other sectors, other projects such as industries, thermal powers, minings, or others, so many. Laterally it becomes a mandatory, it becomes compulsory. And what are the role of this environmental impact assessment? That is to facilitate the collection of the environmental data. Means it collect the environmental data, means it collect the information regarding the positive as well as the negative effect on the environment, and it prepares the certain management plan. Management plan means what? Developmental plan, we can say that. Then guidelines have been evolved and circulated to the certain central as well as state government. Such guidelines are provided by environmental impact assessment to the central as well as state government. Environmental impact assessment has now been made compulsory under the this act, that is, we can say that the Environmental Protection Act from 1986. It becomes mandatory, it becomes compulsory to passes through the such type of the environmental impact assessment. That is, if the any type of the person wants to be develop the project, so he must pass through, he must go through the environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment can be defined as the study to predict. Predict means what? The to study the future adverse effect or benefited effect. So to prediction, we can say that. That is the future things, we can say that. The effect of proposed activity on the environment. A decision making tools, it is decision making tools, it helps for development of the project. Then environmental impact assessment compares various alternatives for a project and seeks to identify the one which represents the best combination of economic and environmental cost and benefits. It helps, that is, when the environmental impact assessment is done certain project, then such project may becomes the economic as well as the environmentally benefited, eco-friendly, we can say that, when we passes through the environmental impact assessment. Then concept of environmental impact assessment process. Environmental impact assessment is systematically examines the negative as well as the positive effects. Consequences is nothing but the negative effect, adverse consequences of the project, and ensures that these effects are taken into account during project development. Means if there are the negative effects are there, positive effects are there, these all effects are taken under consideration at the time of development of the project, and it helps to identify a possible environmental effect of the proposed projects, propose measures to mitigate adverse effect, and predict whether there will be significant adverse environmental effect even after the mitigation is implemented. If the adverse effect is mitigated, adverse effect is reduced, then and then only this project is run or not. Such all things are helpful or provides by environmental impact assessment. By considering the environmental effect of the project and their minimizing their reduction in the project planning cycle, environmental assessment has many benefits, such as it helps, environmental impact assessment helps us to protection of the environment, one thing, then optimum utilization of natural resources, second thing, and when the before starting the project, if we have the certain idea regarding the pollution, regarding the production cost, regarding the adverse effect, then it saves our time as well as the cost of the project. Then properly conducted environmental impact assessment helps us to study, to teach, or to learn the conflicts, confusion by promoting community participation. It reduces or it helps us to learn the confusion due to the community participation, informing decision makers and helping to development of the project which are eco-friendly or economically benefited, economically as well as eco-friendly or environmentally based project, we can say that. It helps us to, due to the participation of these community decision makers, it helps to inform the decision makers and helps to develop the good project, we can say that. Benefit of this integrated environmental impact assessment is that it observes in all stages of the project from starting to the end, then from exploration and planning through construction, through the starting from the construction, then operation, then decommissioning and beyond site closure. It helps us regarding to this all. Then advantages of environmental impact assessment. Facilitate, it helps us, or it have the number of benefits. The first benefit is that the facilitate the design of monitoring program. It designs the monitoring program, a monitoring program, because it is previously studied. Then it allow the people to examine the underlying need of the project. It allow the nearby people to examine the project, because there is the involvement of the nearby peoples are there which are near to the industry. Then give the people the opportunity to identify the problem. Suppose these projects are in front of the people to study, to participate these papers, and they are allowed to use the information regarding the project which are benefited or the adverse. Then these peoples which are present there, these peoples use the idea regarding the problems which are there. Then it helps to developer to design a more publicly acceptable project. Due to the involvement of the people, these people give the suggestion, and due to this suggestion, the new project which may develops, these project may develop publicly acceptable project, because negative things are reduced, negative things are mitigated, negative things are neglected from this project. Then exploration of alternative, that is alternative source are suggested, and which helps to identify cost saving and other beneficial changes which are found in the project. So this is sufficient for today. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay home. Thank you.